Welcome to Jets Overtime, presented by Duncan. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio. The New York Jets fall to 0-13 in this 2020 season. They actually scored the opening points in this game as I bring in both Anthony Becht and Eric Coleman. Anthony, for the 7th consecutive game, the Jets scored on their opening possession. Unfortunately for the green and white and their faithful, the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field scored the next 40 points, the final 40-3.
Yeah, it's good to see your team start fast. Nice to get a touchdown in that situation, but came up with a field goal opportunity. But I think now it's about, okay, you start fast, you got that script of plays, you're rolling. Now let's try to add something to that on the second, third, fourth series of the half. And that really was the difference in the game. Even though you did push the ball down the field and you got yourself in a position to get field goals, those field goals didn't help you because your kicker missed 3 of them in the first half. So just when you think you've given up some points to Seattle, you've moved the ball effectively, you've got yourself an opportunity to at least get some points on the board, you fall short and only have 3 in the first half. That kind of set the tone for the rest of the game.
Eric, what did you think about the effort today? Obviously, they didn't get the outcome that they wanted, but I wanted to ask you your thoughts on if that game last week, the heartbreaker to the Las Vegas Raiders when the Jets lost in the final seconds, did you see that stay with them at all? Or should we just say, listen, bottom line, Seattle physically was a better ball team today?
Well, I think there was a bit of a hangover from last week's disappointment. But when you look at the game, Seattle was just a superior team. They executed well. They ran the football. They really took control of the football game. And, there were several open receivers in the secondary running around. It seemed like there were some miscommunications in the back end, which is disappointing. This is the 13th game of the season, and you would like to think that even though you got a new defensive coordinator, you can still communicate on the back end and be on the same page. But, Seattle, you got to give them credit. They had a great game plan. Russell Wilson had a nice grasp of his offense. He found the open receivers, the tight ends played well for the Seahawks, and they just had a better game plan.
A big discrepancy here today, Anthony, was we talked about the Jets' run game coming into this game. Last week against the Raiders, they won the line of scrimmage. Well, I thought Seattle won the line of scrimmage today, and it was evident by the rushing totals. The Jets didn't get a lot going on the ground, whereas on the other side of the ball, the Seahawks rushed for nearly 180 yards.
Yeah, not really any follow-up to last week's performance from a run standpoint. And it does start up front. I mean, they broke some early runs. Gore had a couple pops. Adams had a couple pops, but nothing consistent. Seattle did a nice job of keeping everything tight to the line of scrimmage. We talked about Jamal Adams and what he brings to the table up at the line of scrimmage. He was a factor in this football game in those running opportunities to kind of keep the Jets rush offense intact in place. So, and that obviously hurts the passing game as well, because you don't have complementary play. You don't have play action opportunities because they're not honoring the run because it's not effective. And then, of course, if you can get to the quarterback, which ultimately the Seattle Seahawks were able to do, in particular to start the second half of the game. When you're down 17-3, you have an opportunity to make something happen. You go sack, punt, first 2 series. And, of course, Seattle takes it right down the field and scores. Now you've really put yourself out of the game. So running the football helps, because not only does it help balance your offense, it also helps not give the ball to the Seattle Seahawks and take some time off the clock, and just too many opportunities for them and not enough third down conversions to do that for the Jets.
Eric, if I told you before this game that the Jets were only going to allow 206 yards passing to Russell Wilson, I would have signed up for that, but Wilson carved up the secondary with 4 touchdown passes. And listen to these final numbers. Rush statistics, 36 carries, 174 yards, 4.8 yards a carry for Seattle.
Yeah, that's disappointing. For the Jets, as your defense, one of the main goals is to stop the run, control that line of scrimmage, and limit what an offense can do to you. And when you control the run game, you limit their yards per rush. then you make them one dimensional. You make Russell Wilson beat you in the air, which, listen, he can do, but their offensive line struggled. And I think that the Jets defense, that's where they had their advantage with their defensive line pass rushing on Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, the Jets weren't able to stop that run. The play action was in full effect, and Russell Wilson was able to throw the ball fairly free. Um, there was some miscommunications, like I said, in the back end, but it starts up front. I thought that the Jets were going to come out and stop that run and focus on limiting what they did.
Let's go to the virtual podium right now in Seattle and hear from Jets head coach Adam Gase.
Yeah, we had some protection breakdowns. There was a couple times where, I think he probably could have dropped the ball down, felt like he could fit it in. Obviously we'll have to go back, look at this, and just kind of see the overall detail of, what's going on, whether it's, he needs to make a different decision if he doesn't have enough time, if we're not open. I think we're taking turns on this one.
Adam, certainly in no way am I making or suggesting an excuse, but I just wonder how much of an effect maybe last week's, situation had on these guys, and was it just a matter of time before there was a breaking point for these guys?
I would hate to say that that's a reason for anything from today. I feel like today like I said, we didn't take advantage of any opportunity we had. I felt like the guys did a good job of bouncing back to come to practice, and energy. Traveling on the West Coast, I thought they handled it the right way, went about things the right way. It's just we can't allow, when a good thing happens, we have to capitalize on it. We can't have nothing come out of those drives.
How demoralizing were all those missed field goal misses in the second quarter?
Yeah, it's just, I would love to give ourselves a better chance of scoring a touchdown. Felt like we did have some opportunities that we missed on those. But anytime that you can at least come away with points, it's a different feel. We needed all of them.
You are watching Jets Overtime presented by Duncan. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio. The New York Jets fall to the Seattle Seahawks by a 40-3 score. Anthony, as we bring in both yourself and Eric Coleman, what did you make of the missed field goals? The bottom line is, from my perspective, in the National Football League, if you're kicking field goals, you're not going to win anyway. But at 17-3 in the second quarter, Corey Ballantyne has a 66-yard kickoff return. That drive eventually ends with a Sergio Castillo miss wide right from 37 yards out. That's 10 minutes and 8 seconds left on the second quarter clock. Then it's 17-3 still, and you have a good-looking drive where you actually get some things going on the ground, and Castillo is wide left from 41 yards out with 2:32 on the second quarter clock. And then finally in the second quarter, it's 23-3. A nice hookup between Sam Darnold and Braxton Berrios gets you down there. Unfortunately, you have to take a timeout, and ultimately, Castillo is wide left from 43 yards out. I got to imagine that took a lot out of this team heading into halftime.
Of course it did. I thought this was the first game in general. The juice wasn't really there from a team standpoint from start to finish. Looking to hang your hat on something. You just came off, Coach Gase talked about, the lingering effects of the game against the Raiders, the lingering effects of it into the week. They were still talking about it Wednesday, just not having that juice in practice, and then the long haul across the country. And you're trying to, lean on something. It was pretty much a dumpster fire across the NFL for 90% of the teams in their kicking situation. I saw more missed extra points and field goals today than any week of the NFL throughout the season. So, just add them to the list of just, not being dialed in and focused. And that's unfortunate. You hate talking about special teams, kickers, because you expect that area to be clean and be good. You never want anything to harm you on that side. It can only add to you as a bonus, and you just keep it clean. But today, unfortunately, when your number was called to make some plays, you're right. You want to score touchdowns, But to leave 9 points out there and not get those 9 points, it just changed the complexion of visually and mentally where you are in that football game. And it adds to the downer effect that this team already had coming into this game. So, again, hanging your hat on something to rely on to get, some positive juice into the locker room at halftime. I didn't see that coming out at halftime, and that kind of held the team back a bit.
I don't want to get sidetracked too much here, gentlemen, but can somebody tell me what's going on with the officiating in this league? The Jets lost to a better team today. There's no doubt about that. Seattle outplayed the green and white in every phase of the game. But I'd be remiss, Eric, if I didn't ask you about a couple incompletions to Braxton Berrios and Brashad Perryman. And then also on the other side of the ball, Bryce Hall, rookie out of Virginia, got flagged for DK Metcalf practically putting him in a headlock. And also Marcus May was called for a defensive holding call when, hey, if you're going to make that call, that's fine. But you got to call it like you see it on both sides. Am I missing something here?
No, you're not. And that happened on Braxton Berrios. He was going to make a catch, and he clearly was turned by the defensive back. And typically the referees won't throw the flag unless that back arm turns the receiver, and it did. It was right in the middle of the field. On the other side, Bryce Hall, that was a tough call. I thought he did a great job in coverage on the deep ball with DK Metcalf. Metcalf almost ripped his helmet off from behind, and they called the holding on Hall. It's a tough call. Same with Marcus May. It eliminated a big play for the Jets, something that could have got their momentum going. And like you're saying, they got dominated in every phase of the game. This is not an excuse for the loss, but at the same time, you would like to see that called on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, no excuses for the loss. There's no doubt about that. The better team won today. Seattle won in every phase, but we had to discuss that just a little bit because I know you all were watching at home too, asking yourself what's going on out there. For more on today's game, let's go to Ethan Greenberg, who's standing by with Jets defensive lineman Henry Anderson.
Now joined by defensive lineman Henry Anderson. Henry, how would you describe the mood of the team after a loss like that?
Not happy. I mean, we're all still losing doesn't get any easier. We're pissed off. It's frustrating. No one's happy with the way things are going. And, we just got to watch this film on the flight back, continue to make corrections the next couple of days, and then Wednesday come back in the building and get ready for the Rams.
What was Coach Gase's message to the team? And also to follow up on that, Coach Gase said that guys like Marcus May and Foley spoke to the team afterwards. Can you just kind of give a summary of what those guys said?
I mean, the message is really from everybody is we just got to start fast and figure out a way to defensively slow down the offense early in the game, and then on offense and we just never recovered. But we just got to figure out a way on both sides of the ball to start a little bit faster. And so that at halftime, it's not. I don't know what the score was at halftime, but it was 2 or 3 score game at halftime, and we just can't let that happen.
Henry, appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Get running for less at Dunkin' with a $1 medium hot coffee with a sandwich purchase. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Exclusions apply. Limited time offer. You are watching Jets Overtime, presented by Dunkin'. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio. The Jets go down today to the Seattle Seahawks by a 40-3 score. We just heard from veteran defensive lineman Henry Anderson. I'm going to bring back Anthony Becht and Eric Coleman. Anthony, you've never been in that position before. Yes, you guys have lost games, but this is the first time in franchise history that the New York Jets are 0-13. When you watch the players, a veteran like Henry Anderson, what are you thinking? And also, how hard are these final 3 weeks going to be for this team?
It's brutal. I mean, listen, you're not able to manufacture points. It's tough to get balance in the pass and the run game. You get some healthy players back and you expect a little bit of a jolt. You're not getting it. Defensively, you got a makeshift secondary. You're working guys in. You don't have a real dialed in pass rusher, at least an edge guy that can change things up. And and cause turnovers. You're not getting a ton of turnovers, even though Marcus May was able to get a fantastic interception today. And then, of course, your special teams, let you down. So, Henry Andrews talking about every week it gets harder, and it does. I mean, the fact that they were able to give the effort they did against the Raiders, I'll be quite honest with you, I've seen a lot of teams. It just doesn't – you don't get that kind of game when you're, a double-digit underdog. So, look, I give credit for their fight. I thought today ultimately was the one game where you started to see a little bit of lackluster juice from the football team. But, I'm not going to, think that every single week leading up to this is going to happen or that's going to happen. I think we can all agree that we see kind of what this team is right now, the position they're in from a standpoint of the roster, and also the standpoint of what they are on offense and defense. Hasn't gotten worse. It hasn't gotten better. They're kind of middle ground right now. And, when you're talking about, Sam being back and trying to get a jolt there, again, it's the same thing. You have your elite quarterbacks. You have your good quarterbacks from about, 10 to 15 to 16. And then a bunch of the other quarterbacks are lumped together who, every single week, some guys rated 16, some guys rated 30. And that's where Sam is right now. So it's just been a tough situation. And, you try to fight through it. You do what you can. But again, the schedule doesn't get easier unfortunately for the Jets as the season goes on. It actually gets tougher, which is a tough pill to swallow. But, they'll come out and fight, and that's all you can ask for.
I'm going to get back to Sam Darnold in just a moment, but Anthony just mentioned that interception, and we saw that, Eric. The degree of difficulty by Marcus May there, what did you think of the play as Russell Wilson tried to go to his favorite target, DK Metcalf, and May's in there in a one-on-one situation? What do you think about that pick? That is his second interception this year, and both have been ridiculous highlight reel level plays.
Yes, they both have. It's been amazing the focus that Marcus has and the body control when that ball's in the air. But I thought he did a great job of not letting the defender get behind him. I think he mistimed the ball a little bit, and that's why he had to make that miraculous catch. But, it just shows his athleticism, his eye for the ball, his focus and concentration. And, I love that he didn't get beat. I love that he went and made the play. Instead of letting the play come to him, he went and attacked that football, took it, and played the receiver in that role. A great play for this team. Whenever you can turn over the football, whenever you can get it back to your offense, keep the points off the board for the opposing team, that's a big bonus. I just wish that the Jets could have capitalized on some of these big plays that were made. You talk about the Marcus May interception, the Ballantyne kickoff return. Those things kind of take the wind out of your sails when you're not able to take advantage of them and convert those to points.
That's just the thing, Anthony. We've been talking about complimentary football all season long. May goes out there, makes an interception. What do you do with it? You punt it back. So it's 17-3. Ballantyne has a great kickoff return. What do you do with it? You miss a field goal. All these things are an accumulation, and this team is just not good enough to overcome those kind of mistakes. When you have a chance to grab the momentum, you have to seize it.
Well, I think another thing this team lacks is explosive plays on offense. We're talking about runs over 12 yards plus, passes in the 20-plus yard range. You see them sprinkled throughout the games when you're at full force at the receiver position. But again, the defense doesn't have to have many responsibilities when they can make you one-sided as an offense. And you don't have chunk plays. I mean, I can't remember when you can have multiple down the field throws that end up as touchdowns, or a big return, which a run return as far as the running game is concerned. You've seen nice 9-10 yard clips, but we haven't broken that big run, that 45+ yard run that every team normally has throughout the season. And then special teams outside of the kicking standpoint, it was nice to see a solid return by Ballantyne in this game. Gave a little jolt at that moment and gave you an opportunity to score. But again, when you're talking about making it work and executing, you don't miss it, you don't make the kick. So listen, it's tough to hang your hat on something. It's frustrating, and unfortunately, when you're playing bad and your record is not good and you continue to lose, mentally it's a big part of the game, because here we go again starts kicking in, or this is what happens, so you got to be mentally strong as a unit, as a team, to overcome some of those things. but it is natural to have those feelings, whether you're a rookie or, a 10-year guy. I mean, it's just part of it. Everybody on this team right now has never been in this situation. So again, there's a little bit of panic. There's a little bit of, you're pushing yourself a little bit. You kind of sometimes get out of your technique. You may rush throwing the ball. You may not follow the ball into your hands as a receiver long enough. Secondary guys, you may, you may play off a little more. You may not be in your right position. It's just, you don't really have that looseness that you want to have. And then that takes away really the fun of it. I mean, it's not fun to go out there and lose and worry about those things and play on eggshells. But that's a product of what happens when a team loses consecutive games over and over again. So it is unprecedented times for everybody, top to bottom, GM all the way down to the trainers, the equipment people. This has never been in their world before, and it's been a tough situation.
A tough situation for everybody inside the Jets organization, including their third-year signal caller, Sam Darnold. Darnold today against the Seahawks, 14-26 for 132 yards, no interceptions, no touchdowns. The Jets only total 3 points. This is what Darnold had to say after the game.
Sam, that Seattle defense was came into the game as the worst passing defense in the NFL. What were they able to do though to kind of give you guys so many issues throughout the game?
I don't know. I'll know better when we look at the tape. But just from how I felt, I felt like, I need to do a better job of getting the ball out of my hands. And if something's not there, finding my check down.
Sam, you guys were able to take your first possession, go down the field, get some points. Things started looking very good right off the top, but then you weren't able to score. You weren't able to get into the end zone after that. What was the Seattle defense doing to you guys that maybe you don't have to look at the film, but yet can just tell us right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a good job of disrupting our flow. They're doing a really good job of stopping the run game. And then when we needed to pass the ball, we couldn't do it efficiently enough to win the game.
Did Jamal say anything to you before, during, or after the game?
Yeah, I mean, we exchanged some words, during and then after the game, but I'll keep that between us.
How frustrating is it to prepare for a game like this? And I'm sure you guys had a pretty good week of practice leading up to this, but then it not translate to the field and end up in a 40-3 loss.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, So, again, we just got to watch the tape and get better and see what we can do, to continue to improve.
You are watching Jets Overtime presented by Duncan. Eric Allen here inside the BetMGM studio. The Jets' leading receiver today, Braxton Berrios, 3 catches for 49 yards. Of course, the green and white lined up without rookie Denzel Mims. As I bring back Anthony Becht and Eric Coleman. Anthony, how much do you think it hurt that offense not having a Mims out there alongside the Brashad Perrymans of the world and Jameson Crowder?
Yeah, he's definitely a factor. I mean, he's someone that obviously you have to study and be aware of. He's a bigger guy that, can make those 50-50 catches. But, let's be honest. I mean, they have receiver-wise, they got guys out there that can make plays. Even the tight end position with Herndon, to maximize yourself. I think every team in the NFL has at least one receiver down, probably more than likely, and he's a rookie. So want to get him back. He's an awesome addition, and he's made some huge plays. But there's enough on the field to get something drummed up offensively in the passing game, as long as you have the protection. Clearly you don't have, all your starting linemen up, but 4 out of 5 is, again, not bad considering what the rest of the league is going through. So I expected more out of the offense, to be perfectly honest with you. I look for something more to happen in the run game to follow up from last week. That would have got me a little bit excited as far as, the potential of what that could be built off of. And then the passing game would have definitely been better off of that run game, but it didn't happen. And again, what do you lean on? What advantages do you have? You don't have many because Seattle kind of dictates that tempo of the game now because they basically defensively shut you down in all aspects, and you weren't able to threaten them. And Eric knows, the hardest thing with the defense, if you can threaten anything, whether it's the run or the pass, now it gets you thinking defensively. But today I just felt like Seattle dictated all that, and it just made it real easy for them defensively in this game.
Yeah, the Jets juggling at the safety position right now. Marcus May has been the constant back there. He picks up his second interception of the year, and it was a great one. But Bradley McDougald out of the lineup, Ashton Davis on injured reserve. One of the guys trying to fill the void back there is Matthias Farley, and our own Ethan Greenberg talked to Matthias after the game.
Now joined by Jets safety Matthias Farley. Matthias, how would you describe the mood in the locker room after a loss like this?
I mean, I think anytime you lose a game in the NFL, it's somber. Guys work really hard week in and week out to go out there and put, their best foot forward. And when that doesn't happen, it's frustrating. And, you just got to take it, reevaluate, and make the corrections.
Matthias, what was this week like for you, knowing that you're not only going to be a key piece in special teams, but also get the start in the secondary as well?
Obviously, it's a lot different. It hasn't really been my role up until this point. It's more pressure, but at the same time, I still have to go out there and execute. I didn't do that on every play, and there's definitely a couple of plays I wish I had back.
With that being said, is there anything that you are proud of with your performance, or how would you evaluate your overall performance?
I honestly don't think I played very well. I think I was around the ball a lot, but there's some stuff that I gave up that, obviously I wish I could have back. I can't dwell on it, but there's definitely plays I wish I had back.
How challenging is it for a secondary with a lot of moving pieces, just generally speaking, and with Bless coming back and then just a lot of rotational pieces? Arthur played some safety today as well. I'm just curious from a player's perspective how much of a challenge that is.
It's definitely a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. But at the end of the day, the standard is the standard, and there's a next man up mentality. The game of football, anybody could go down at any point. So when your name's called, you got to be ready, and that's just the standard. And I don't think I personally played up to that today, and I'm very disappointed in that.
Matthias, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Time for final thoughts here on Jets Overtime, presented by Duncan. The green and white 0-13 for the first time in franchise history. The road does not get any easier next week because, Anthony, this team is going to take that, 5.5-hour ride back from Seattle now, get back early Monday morning, correct your mistakes, and then you start looking forward to going back to the West Coast to face the LA Rams, who, oh, by the way, are fighting the Seahawks for control of the NFC West, and they have one of the top rosters in the NFL.
Well, listen, I think from a practice standpoint, you got to keep things fresh, fun, and interesting. It may be cutting a few things out play-wise. It may be adding a few things, cutting back on certain times on some of the situational stuff you're doing. You just have to keep the guys motivated. That's the most important thing. So Adam and his staff are going to have to come up with certain ways to keep it fresh for the last, three games of the season. Clearly coming off that terrible ending to the Raiders, this debacle in this game, now having to travel back out again to the West Coast, like you said, is going to be very difficult. So, what can you do to spruce things up? Maybe throw in a couple trick plays this week. Maybe special teams have a couple things brewed up. I mean, at this point, instead of just being plain Jane and just trying to drum things up naturally, add some things. You're playing a playoff team. Make it hard for them. Be a spoiler. Those are the things that now you should be trying to do. And again, whoever's out there playing, whatever you got going on, let it rip. Because at this point in the season, there's no sense of worrying about or, being, this guy, I don't know if he can do it right at the guard when he's playing, or I'm not sure Berrios or this receiver who's got to play. I don't think he's going to be able to do the route correctly. Coaches think about that stuff all the time. In my opinion, man, just go out there and roll what you got. Because at the end of the day, who knows who's going to be here moving forward? And it's only going to help the fact, either you're a coach or a player, that if you can make some things or make some plays happen or positive things happen, it can only help your case, right? So that's what I'm looking for the last couple games of the season. Interesting to see who those players will be to step up. Right now, May is a guy that stuck out, which was great. In this football game, let's see who sticks out here moving forward these last couple games.
Eric, a lot to get to right there, and I love what Anthony's saying. Switch it up, spice it up, lay it all out there on the line. The bottom line, guys, is the average career in the National Football League is just a little over 3 years. These guys are playing for their jobs. There's a lot of changes ahead here within the Jets organization. You only got 3 games, and you got 3 games to put good film on resume and on your resumes. And bottom line is, you want to avoid history, don't you, Eric?
Absolutely. You don't want to be on the wrong side of history and go 0-16. And I think that when you see these players go out there and play, the way they prepare, their attitude, the energy that they're playing with. You know, I was a player who played against the Detroit Lions when they went 0-16. And once we got on them in the third quarter, they were defeated. You know, and you could see it in their eyes that they didn't want to fight. When I watched this Jets team play, they're out there, you know, celebrating. I saw Frankie Louvu today get a hit in the fourth quarter. He got up celebrating. You know, guys are still playing. They're passionate. They're playing with their hair on fire. They're trying to do things the right way. They're just not getting the end result. So I agree with you, Anthony. Let's mix some things up. Let's throw in some trick plays, take some shots down the field, give some other guys some opportunities to step up and make plays. You know, you saw last week Ty Johnson and Adams had a great job running the football. Let them get the load. You know, give some of these younger receivers an opportunity to take some shots down the field and see what they have. See if Sam Darnold can, you know, convert some vertical passing game. You know, even though you don't have all of your weapons, you know, open the offense up, see what you can do, and you know, what's the worst that can happen? You end up losing and end up losing another game. But you know, the bright side of the thing is that you can make a play. You can instill some confidence in some of your players and show the world that these guys can go out there and make plays.
Winning analysis from you two as always this week. We're going to see you next week. Have a great respective couple days here, fellas. Next week for the New York Jets, it is a travel back to the West Coast to face the LA Rams. One of the most difficult seasons in franchise history right now. The green and white are 0-13. The Jets and the Seahawks, they will be connected for a number of years, though. Yes, Seattle won the battle today, but let's see how this trade, where Joe Douglas got a lot of draft capital back from the Seattle Seahawks, including first-round picks in 2021 and 2022. Let's analyze this trade in the years ahead. So these teams will be connected for quite a long time. From everybody here at Jets 360, enjoy your evening.